It is reaching and approaching the end of 2018, and that means there are a ton of smartphones that have come out, but you don't know which one to buy. There's like iPhone 10, Google Pixel, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you the best smartphones of 2018. Roll that intro. Hey, it's Jake. Welcome back to another episode of the JK Tech Show. I'm going to love arm movements because I'm hyped for this episode. It's a very sort of requested episode. What are the best smartphones of 2018? Lots of people have asked, which smartphone should I buy? Should I buy the Huawei Mate 20 Pro? Should I buy the OnePlus 6? Should I buy the iPhone 10? Should I buy this? Should I buy that? Should I buy this? Should I buy that? On this episode, I'm going to answer all the questions. But before that, I just want to make sure that you have followed me on all social media platforms at AKJKYT everywhere. Without further ado, let's jump in to the episode. So, in no particular order, number one is the OnePlus 6. This device just all out has great specs, including a Snapdragon 845, a 6.3-inch AMOLED display, which is pretty great in comparison to many other smartphones at the same budget price point. It has a pretty good camera and starts out at £469, which is under $500. Really amazing. The OnePlus 6T, which is the upgraded version, it is much better. I think it starts at $100 or $150 more, so really minor differences. They're just amazing devices. It maxes out at 256 gigabytes. It comes with a 3300 milliamp hour battery, which is pretty great, and should last you an entire day on one charge. The design looks stunning this time. The fingerprint sensor on the back. However, it doesn't have any IP rating that's been given according to like how much water it can withstand. Usually that means it's not really that high or something major, because if it was major, then they'd be advertising it. But I mean, to the average consumer, it ain't really that important because, well, regardless of any underwater features, you're still going to keep it away from water because you're just going to be paranoid. Same with me. You know, I got an IP67 or 67 rated phone. I can take it underwater for like 20 minutes or something, but like, I just don't want to. I'm scared. You're able to select between 6 and 8 gigabytes of RAM, and the display has a resolution of 2280 by 1080. Pretty good. And the new OnePlus series has an all metal and glass build. So overall, if you just add up all the features of this device, it's a pretty great phone with many flagship specs coming in at a mid-tier price point around $600. Real great, definitely recommend it for someone who is more on a budget. Now, number two is most definitely not a budget phone. It's the Galaxy S9 Plus. This one is a very, very amazing phone, hence why it's on this list. Many people would argue this is the best phone of the year. It's pretty similar to the Galaxy Note 9, which is why I didn't put the Note 9 on the list. Very, very similar. You know, there's a few minor differences you'll find. I'll link some of the specs in the description down below. But those two are very great devices, some of the best of the year. Has a 6.2-inch display with a resolution of 1440 by 2960. A Snapdragon 845, 6 gigabytes of RAM, a 64 and a 128 gigabyte option, 3500 milliamp hours, two rear cameras coming in at 12 megapixels, which is the same as most of the smartphones today, same as this iPhone right here, which takes wonderful and amazing pictures. And the front-facing camera is 8 megapixels. Now, that's pretty standard. The iPhone, I believe, is 7 megapixels, so that beats it. Now, just in terms of the way this device looks, it looks pretty beautiful. I would choose, in terms of looks, this over the Note 9. But if I was buying, I don't know. I mean, the Plus is definitely the option I would always go with. I like large-size phones. The S9 is very similar, just, the Plus and a couple of other things. The camera on this is amazing. It has super slow-mo, which is like 720 frames per second, which is like 3 times slower than the usual slow motion, which is pretty crazy. So I think you're gonna like that. And its camera's great, and all the specs about it is really amazing. Definitely a great purchase. The third phone on the list is the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. I did make a full video on all the specs and everything you gotta know about this device. It's just a great phone. Really, really nice device. Looks beautiful, as do all the Huawei phones, with that kind of gradient color going along from like purple to some lighter purple color. I mean, it's just extremely popular. Even just like pure looks alone, people really love it. It has a pretty cool feature, reverse wireless charging, where I can place this is the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, I place my iPhone on it, my iPhone begins to charge, just like that. Really amazing. Comes with 3 great cameras, as do the last couple of Huawei phones that came out this year. Has a 6.4 inch display, I mean, it's sort of written over there as 6.39 inches, 6.4 really. With a resolution of 1440 by 3120, 8 gigabytes of RAM. I'm only seeing a 256 storage option. I don't know if it's be able to upgrade. You can check out my full video on several of these phones have full episodes. If you're really interested in them, check out the cards. Anyways, battery life is a big, bad 4200 milliamp hours. Probably the best in terms of big battery life ever in any smartphone right now. That is a killer amount of battery life. Now the cameras on Huawei phones are just... listen to it. It has a 40 megapixel camera, a 20 megapixel camera, and an 8 megapixel camera all at the back. Whereas this has two 12 megapixel cameras. The Note 9 and the S9 Plus have two 12 megapixel cameras. This one has a 40, a 20, and an 8. That is pretty amazing. Obviously, the megapixels aren't the sort of most important thing with the camera, but that is... wow. The megapixels are not the most important thing. And the front-facing camera is 24 megapixels. This is 7. See what I mean? This just, in terms of its great camera quality, amazing battery life, and looks really nice. Definitely a great pickup. Next up is the iPhone XS, iPhone XS Max. Definitely the best iPhones that have ever come out, and my favorite phone to date. So, I prefer iPhones over Android devices. I do appreciate Android devices, are pretty amazing. I'm an iPhone person. Now, the iPhone XS and XS Max are the best from the iPhones. The XS is exactly the same as the XS Max, just the size difference. No specs different, everything's the same. So on this one, it's just in terms of size preference. Do you prefer a 5.8-inch display like this one, like the previous iPhone 10 and everything, or the Max? Let me see how much it is. Where are you? The Max has a 6.5-inch display. I think that is the biggest I've seen so far, so yeah, pretty great. I think this looks really nice with a clean glass back. You can get a space gray, a silver, or a blush gold, I believe they call it. Cameras are really amazing. I use them in most of my social media pictures. You can check them out at AKJQYD everywhere. Couple probably pop up on the screen. Really great camera quality. Battery life on the smaller one is less. Aside from that, there's no differences. So it has 2,658 milliamp hours. That's shaky. And the larger one has 3,174 milliamp hours, so I would say 2,700, 3,200. Battery life isn't that good in comparison, but I mean, really, to the average consumer, I think not doing heavily intensive tasks unless you're playing Fortnite is really going to be damaging. The iPhone X has a very similar battery life, and I don't really have any problems with it. I'm a highly intensive user. And I did play about 10 games of Fortnite today. I just felt like it, and I never really play it, but today was just today. You charge it. The charging on this is really fast, even without fast or wireless charging. So yeah, supports Qi wireless charging, supports fast charging. So the smaller phone has a display resolution of 1125 by 2436, and the larger one has a 1242 by 2688. They both come with the brand new A12 Bionic chip, which is an upgrade from the A11 Bionic with the iPhone X. Now, it's a bit shocking in comparison to 4 GB of RAM, which is pretty different to the other phones. I think it makes it up with the storage, though, is 64, 256, and a whopping 512. I think was the first to introduce such a large storage size. And we all know that the iPhones are the best cameras for video. That's pretty much kind of a well-known fact. And the next one, the Google Pixel 3, is the photo camera. Brings on very well. Google Pixel 3 is most definitely the smartphone with the best camera for taking photos. iPhone XS for the iPhone 10 and XS for the video, the Pixel 3 for photos. This phone has a true Android experience straight from Google. They make it, they get the updates as fast as possible. It's just super clean Android system. This does have that god-awful massive notch, but I think over time you'll get used to it and will sort of become something invisible to you. It has the usual Snapdragon 845, a 6.3-inch display because this is the I do believe this is the XL, the Google Pixel 3 XL, 6.3-inch display. The display has a resolution of 1440 by 2960. 4 gigabytes of RAM. Again, the last two, the RAM has been a bit shaky. 3430 milliamp hours. That's bringing it back up. Pretty great. One rear camera of 12.2 megapixels and the front facing is 8 megapixels. Now the OnePlus 6T, which I hyped up towards the beginning of the video. This is one of the best smartphones of the year. If you've seen MKBHD's video, he's crowned it as the #1 smartphone of the year overall, with price and specs and all that kind of jazz included. So this comes in much cheaper than any of the other flagship devices mentioned. It is a budget flagship phone is what I like to call it. It's just really amazing at a great price. And it looks pretty nice too. It has a pretty large 6.4-inch display. The display resolution is 1080 by 2340, nothing too really great on the display size and display wise, they're kind of on the display. Snapdragon 845, pretty usual, so if you think about the CPU is the same as all of the other phones, but it's much lower priced. 8 gigabytes of RAM. I mean, you can have a 6 if you want, but Storage of 128 or 256. Battery is 3700 milliamp hours, which is pretty great. The rear cameras has two 20 megapixel and 16 megapixel, and a front-facing camera of 16 megapixels. The camera quality on this is pretty good. High megapixel rate on this. And then we have the iPhone XR. This is it's a budget phone. It does you can compare it with the OnePlus 6Ts. If you want a more cheaper iPhone, this is the one to go with. It's a really great device. Comes in 6 different colors. For the less hardcore user that wants an iPhone, this is the one that you've got to pick up. If I was buying for myself, I would go with the XS Max. If I was buying for someone else, probably the XR, because that person is likely not a hardcore user like I am. Just because the specs are slightly lower, and they come with many different colors, which sort of the general public like to have colors, so whatever. This is great for gifting. You just find out what color they like. They've got tons. Just pops out. It's different than the usual silver or space gray. But I have hyped up the colors too much. It comes with red, orange, yellow, white, blue, and black. A screen size of 6.1 inches, which is bigger than the iPhone XS, smaller than the XS Max. The display resolution is 828 by 1792. That's not very good. I was really disappointed with it when I made my first episode on this iPhone XR. Now seeing it in store and everything, I'm finding a different story. It's actually pretty good. It's not as bad as I thought it was. It will last anyone real well, and really it's hard to tell that it's bad at all. It looks really great while you're using it. When you put it side to side with other ones, you can tell the difference. So definitely don't take the display into a factor unless you really care. It's still really great. Same cameras as the iPhone X, it just doesn't have two cameras at the rear. It has one 12 megapixel camera and one front-facing 7 megapixel. The same A12 Bionic CPU. In terms of RAM though, 3 gigabytes. Not that good. That was a ton of phones. God damn it, I ain't using a phone again after this video. I've just said smartphones way too much. My neck is hurting, and I got 4 more videos to shoot, I think. So I'll see you. I think tonight there's going to be a vlog, so yeah, stay tuned. I'll see you later. 6 p.m. should be the vlog, and hopefully you did enjoy this episode. If you did, make sure to drop a like. Comment down below which smartphone you think of picking up, or gifting, or which one you think is the best on this list. In the comment section down below, we can sort of start an argument down there. I'm going to murder you if you say something I dislike, and I'll report you straight away. Yep. Nah, just joking. Comment down below what you think. So follow me on all social medias at AKJYT. Subscribe to my podcast daily, every single day, hopefully. The AKJK Audio Show, and I'll see you next time. Because here at AKJK, the grind is daily.